There's a lot of talk about whether machines will take over humanity. Are machines going to be better than human? Are they more intelligent? Will they take over our jobs? Can machines think? It turns out that this question has been answered. Let's take a look and see if we can find some answers to these questions. Alan Turing was a mathematician, a philosopher, a biologist, and considered by many as the father of artificial intelligence. He wrote a paper in the 50s titled, Can Machines Think? In that paper, he described the Turing test, or also known as the imitation game, to see if machines can fool people into thinking that they are talking to another human being. In other words, can software programs imitate human beings? And when asked whether machines can really think, he said that the notion of machines thinking is too meaningless to deserve a response. Let's take a look to see why he would say that. At the most fundamental level, we can say that our experience has a zero base and the machine learning starts at one. And this is really at the core of the difference of our capacity versus what machines can achieve. Let's explain this a little bit further. You know, the idea of zero as the starting point of existence of our experience is not new. In the I Ching, Lao Tzu talks about the Tao as the fundamental force that is not a thing, but it's a flow. So it's not one, but it starts at zero. And zero, by definition, is unseen and undefinable. And that's why it's mysterious. We don't understand it because we can't see it or define it, and yet we know it's there because everything flows out of that. Another way to say the same thing in mathematics is by looking at the definition of zero. Euclid defined zero as a locus of no dimension, a point, and as the point moves, we get a line. A locus of no dimension is not seen and it's not definable. It's a mystery. Yet in the movement, we get a story, a development of a story, the one. And notice how, again, it comes back to our theme that our experience starts with the mystery, whereas machine language and machine learning starts at one once you have a movement and a definition. I think it's also interesting to note that machine language, the building blocks of machines, are also 0 and 1. So it's the pair of 0 and 1 together that generates everything that you see on the computer screen, except that computer languages cannot do anything with 0, whereas human beings produce something out of nothing. The creativity that comes in comes from the mystery of the universe. And machines come from everything that has been already recorded. And that is a major, major difference in how machines think and how human beings think. A very good example of the mystery of our existence is in how children acquire language. Noam Chomsky points this out to us, that children have the ability to learn language with very little training, as if the structure of learning has already been built into our existence. An easy way to observe or recognize the mystery of our experience in our own activity is to look at Descartes' observation. And what he observed was that human beings can use language in a manner that is appropriate to a circumstance, but it's not caused by that circumstance. I have a clip that we're gonna look at to examine this and then talk.
You are making a movie with Carrot Top, right?
I made a movie with Carrot Top.
Okay. But what's the movie going to be called? Really?
I know what it's going to be called.
Yeah, what's that?
If it's got Carrot Top in it, you know what a good name for it would be?
What's that, Norm?
Box Office Poison.
There's this movie coming out.
Yes.
Title undetermined at this point.
Chairman of the board.
Oh. All right. Do something with that, you freak.
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D.
Now, that was a funny clip, wasn't it? Now, to see if an LLM can produce the same type of response than a Norm Macdonald can, for example, or you and I are able to do, I took the picture that you see here and asked ChatGPT to look at the picture of Carrot Top and give me what it sees or what it can tell me about this person or this character, Carrot Top. And I thought that that would be a good test to see whether LLMs would be able to generate the same type of responses if they had the same input, because it's all about the input and the context. So let's take a look to see what came out. The first step that ChatGPT took was to analyze the picture. And as you can see, the analysis is quite literal. It looked at the picture and said that the performer has a distinctive red hair, animated facial expression, and a playful style of dress. So it's able to identify what is actually there. The next part of the prompt asked for OpenAI to research Carrot Top's background and give us some context. And it says that he's widely recognized as a prop-based comedy and energetic, over-the-top performances. Some consider him funny, and some don't appreciate his brand of humor. Again, very literal, consensus-based, very much dependent on how the algorithms are set up and the knowledge base is trained. In the next follow-up prompt, I asked, what would you name a movie he appeared in? And here are the responses. Bad Hair Day, The Carrot Top Story, Prop Culture, The Rise and Fall of Carrot Top, Orange is the New Hack. You can see that everything that it came up with are literal translations of the image and the background, far away from Box Office Poison, which was an instantaneous human response to the situation. As Descartes says, a response that's appropriate but not caused by the situation, not looking at the image or his background, but something that, in the context of comedy, very funny and appropriate for that situation. Next, I was curious to find out what it would do if it knew that the name of the movie was Chairman of the Board. So I asked, if the name of the movie was Chairman of the Board, how would you twist that to make it funny? And it came up with the exact same response, Chairman of the Board. And it gave an explanation of why it chose board, which is really a translation of what's there, suggesting that the movie was so dull it put people to sleep. So I was curious, and I said, where did you get Chairman of the Board? And it gave me this answer. Actually, Norm MacDonald famously roasted Carrot Top on Late Night with Conan O'Brien when talking about chairman of the board. So you see, the creativity was based on something that was already there. Obviously, a great technological ability to go find the exact right quote and bring it here, but hardly creative. So the response is very much predicated on the training of the data and the data that is already there. And there's a distinct difference between this type of response and what human creativity can produce. I think by now it should be clear what I mean when I say that the human experience is mysterious and starts at 0, and the machine learning starts at 1. Machines take on input in the form of images, text, code, voice, and then are able to manipulate that information to produce the type of results that we see. And obviously, there are a great number of applications that this process is incredibly useful for. Machine learning and AI is a tool that can be used by human beings, but it's also a type of technology that can have a lot of adverse effects. And in order to understand that, we need to understand ourselves first. So next, I want to get into that a little bit and provide some background so that we can speak the same language together. Humanities is a study of how we as humans connect with ourselves and the world around us. For 15 years, I sat with Roger Ver, an authority and leader in this field, reflecting and studying this deep and fascinating topic. And what I'm sharing with you here today comes from those years of reflection and study. This infinity sign captures the essence of Roger's education and gives us a map for our human experience. It consists of a double cycle. One is a cycle of nature that integrates and stores itself in our mind, and the other one is a cycle of consciousness that moves counterclockwise and allows us to reflect, analyze, and create meaning out of our experience. And together, this reality allows us to create arts and sciences and give us a deep understanding of ourselves. Each cycle on our infinity symbol has 4 distinct phases. Always a phase of process, followed by a phase of objectivity. Process designated by 0 because it's connected to the mystery of nature, and then the objectivity of 1. The symbol objectivity has the ability to index everything that comes before it. So if I was give you a picture of a place that you had visited, you would be able to remember what you experienced and your actions from that picture. Just like a picture has 4 corners, our experience unfolds in a frame of reference. And here's the interesting part. Given 1 or 2 corners, our mind fills in the rest. It completes the picture. Let's take marketing as an example. A beer commercial doesn't have to show you the specs. It will show you a group of friends laughing, having a great time watching a game. That one emotional corner, the myth, the story is enough. You will associate it with the brand, and next time when we are in the store, we may just reach out for that beer. And all of this happens underneath the surface. Intuitive, effortless, and powerful. Our experience doesn't just unfold with time, but we also have the ability to refine our experience consciously differentiate what's going on, learn from it, and create new forms of art and forms of science. And these are distinctly different than what goes on in our natural cycle. And again, there are 4 phases to it, always a phase of process, followed by a phase of objectivity. So now that we have looked at the entire dynamic structure of our reality, our experience, we can now make some conclusions of where AI can be extremely helpful and where human beings are always superior to the machine. Machines are obviously great at iteration. They can take a large amount of data and they can run through them through some sequencing to come up with the optimal answer. But whenever there is personal creativity involved, then machines are not able to do that. Noam Chomsky calls products like ChatGPT modern day plagiarism because everything that they take in is what has been produced in the past. Remember the idea of the square of attention? As an example, this video is a work of art. Why? Because it has my experience, me wanting to do something, taking my understanding of everything that I have experienced, symbols, having a vision of how to tell the story, creating an art form. So the square of attention of art starts with experience or myth, which is mysterious and personal to me. But the art form does not just happen in one flow. There is an iteration in there. And the iteration going back, it took me close to 2 weeks to make this video, and refining the story and optimizing it the way that I want to tell it. That is a human capacity. And machines are not able to replicate that creativity. They can take everything that has been there, as we saw with the example that we looked at before with Conan O'Brien, and very quickly find an appropriate answer of something that has been done in the past, but they're not able to creatively build something that is new and presents the reality the way that a human being is able to do. Here is where machines and AI get a little concerning. AI can track our actions at scale. Therefore, it can learn how we think and how we feel in certain situations. And it can use that information to serve us similar information at scale, shaping our thinking and reinforcing the bubbles that we live in. This is not just a personal problem, it's a problem for the society. It will create divisions, and it can lead to a lot of conflict, as it has in our lives. And the only way that I know how to deal with this is education. The more we learn about how these systems work and how we work as human beings, the better can we combat and use AI as a tool, because it really is a powerful tool that can be used for a lot of good. The one obvious place where AI has had and will have a measurable impact is in science. The objectivity of science is based on measurable facts and evidence. It requires a vision, and then it requires iterations and calculations to make sure that your vision, your theory, your idea will actually measure up. When the man goes from Earth to the moon, it takes an understanding of the planets, of physics, of gravity, of propulsion. You have to take all of that information in, run through calculations so that you can get to the moon. That is science. And AI will always be an important and incredible tool for scientific endeavors. The one area that concerns most people are AI agents. These are autonomous AI entities that are able to take in input and learn from that input and perform a task. An obvious example are Waymos, these driverless machines that are able to navigate traffic, take input from cameras, maybe even sound and voice, learn from their experience, and continue to drive driverlessly. However, notice that all of the input that they receive are factual inputs. So robotics can be a big area in this field, but I would not worry about job loss that much because we've gone through these technological changes many times, and every time there's a loss in one area of our activity, there are always new fields that develop because of it. So the key thing here is knowledge. Knowledge defeats fear. Understanding ourselves and learning how we can use these tools to make a better life for ourselves.